Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries. It's John here, just putting out a quick episode, and this episode is inspired by my old mucker, Pete Jones, back from my old Purple Worm days, which I had great fun doing, and I still sadly miss. But anyway, on to happier notes. Pete recently did an episode on his podcast, Dragons Are Real, which, if you've not checked it out, go and check it out. It's excellent. And he's talking about the Zinequest 3 that's currently running on Kickstarter. So I just thought I'd do an episode talking about some of the Zinequest 3 Kickstarters that I've backed. So to kick things off, just in case you're not sure, what is Zinequest? Well, it's been running for a couple of years and it's an annual thing ran by Kickstarter. And to quote the description, their annual Zinequest prompt bestows creators with a valiant mission. Bring your RPG to life with maps, adventures, monsters, comics, articles and interviews. To participate, launch a 2-week project for a single colour, unbound, folded, stapled or saddle stitched RPG zine on A5 or smaller paper. So basically it's proven quite popular, a flurry of these sort of like smaller zines go out. Some are bigger than others, some look more professional, some have a bit more of a rough and ready vibe to them. It's just down to what your individual preference is. But there's some great stuff for various games. Mostly I tend to sort of look at the old school games, obviously, because that's my sort of area of interest. But there's loads of creative stuff being put out there by some great folk. And from the previous Zinequest Kickstarters I've backed, there's only a couple that I've not received yet, one of which has seemingly dropped off the face of the earth, but that's sometimes how it goes with Kickstarter, and the other I'm still receiving regular updates on and has just been delayed a bit. So, and the ones I have received have been pretty much excellent, all of them. So let's get on and talk about some of the ones that I've backed this year thus far. So the first one I've backed is called Magic and Shit by Levi Coombs, who did the excellent Phylactery and Phylactery 2 zines previously. I don't have Phylactery 2 yet. I'm waiting for that to come out on drive-thru. I missed it on Kickstarter, unfortunately, but I've got the first issue, and that is excellent. So this is described as being an all-new, all-different zine dedicated to weird fantasy magic items and artifacts with a heavy metal vibe. Now, much as I'm not really into the heavy metal vibe when it comes to RPGs, Levi's work on Phylactery was excellent, and it gave me loads of ideas for my own games. So I had no hesitation in backing this, because after all, who doesn't want some more magic items and some themed stuff to put into your game? And I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the weird fantasy. So I've backed a PDF and a print copy of that, which is $15 US, but you can also pledge to $10 just to get the PDF. The next one I've backed is Into the Wild, a supplement for wilderness exploration and domain management for OSR style tabletop games by Todd. And this has apparently been written specifically for Necrotic Gnome's Old School Essentials game line, but can be used with any OSR fantasy game. It's a revision and compilation of 6 supplements produced by Third Kingdom Games, woven together into a single book with integrated mechanics, designed to be used in conjunction with the book Filling in the Blanks, which is all about hex crawling. I've got a copy of that. And the 6 books that it combines are Hex Crawl Basics, Random Weather Generation, Domain Building, NPC Wealth by Level, Classing Up the Joint, and OSR Alternative Classes. And I've backed that at the $20 level, which gets me a print and a PDF copy, but there is a PDF only pledge level available for just $10. The third zine I've backed is Planar Compass 2. Now, when the first issue of this was released, it was called Dreamhaven, but the name got changed, and it deals with a sort of strange, almost planescapey sort of style setting, although Dreamhaven was focused in the home base of Dreamhaven, this weird sort of hand-shaped astral island. whereas issue number 2 is taking you out of that home base into the wider astral sea and whatever lies beyond. It's designed to be used with old school essentials and is obviously 100% compatible with like classic BX. Now, I really enjoyed Dreamhaven, but my only little tiny gripe about it was there was loads of intriguing stuff implied about the sort of setting of it, but you didn't really get a lot of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they expand on that in the second issue. Now, as Pete said in his episode, P&P can be a little bit of a killer with some of these. So for this one, I've had to go for just the $6 PDF only version of it. I would have liked to get a print copy, but I've backed a lot of zines, and then the old wallet's already starting to sob a little. Now, if you back at $10 or more, you get a copy of issue 1, a copy of issue 2, and a copy of the player's booklet in PDF. If you want to get a print copy of issue 2, it's $14 US plus, and you can add like extra bits and pieces on. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this and how they expand the Planar Compass setting. Next, we have The Haunted Hamlet by Shane Walsh, which is a zine detailing 4 unique modular locations for your hex crawl. It's made for old school essentials, but it's pretty much compatible with most versions of D&D. And like I said, it details 4 locations full of gameable content that you can drop into your setting. And there's an example hex provided on their Kickstarter page, which is the Hat Cult's hideout, and there's some great artwork on there. And as someone who loves hex crawls, I'm always looking for stuff that I can drop into my games, so this sounds great to me. I've backed this at the $8 Canadian level to get the PDF. If you want to get a printed copy, it's $16 Canadian plus, or you can pay $13 Canadian to get a copy of Willow, which I already have a copy of, one of their previous books, Haunted Hamlet, and PDFs of all the stretch goals. Now, I'm a bit of a sucker for anything with a horror flavour, especially if it's connected with my favourite system, Old School Essentials, so I can't wait to see what this is going to bring and what I can nick out of it to go into my own game. Now, if you even dreamed that I was going to get through Zinequest 3 without backing the latest offering from Tim Shorts of Gothridge Manor, well, then you better wake up and apologise. Tim has produced excellent zines and sends great stuff out on his Patreon. I have his previous zine that he did on Kickstarter, Hunters in Death, and really enjoyed that. And now he's coming out with a new offering, The Many Crypts of Lady Ingrade. A series of short, deadly adventures, crypts created out of Lady Ingrade's hatred of tomb raiding adventurers. And we get a little bit of description about Lady Ingrade caring for her land and the people who tend to it, but she always had a darkness about her. And as she grew older, she became increasingly consumed by paranoia. Fearful that filthy adventurers would violate her tomb when she died, she compulsively built crypts chock full of traps and all manner of other nasties. Now, I loved Tim's previous zine, Hunters in Death, so I've backed this at the $10 US to get a print and a PDF copy. If you just wanted the PDF copy, that's $5. And inside this zine is a series of standalone adventures focused on the crypt. Some are linked, some are standalone. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this develops. He's got a great team working on it. He's got Jason Schultes, who did Operation Unfathomable, who has created the art for it. He's got Rob Conley, who is a fellow podcaster, who has drawn all the maps for it and does some amazing stuff for the Judges Guild. He also recently successfully funded a Kickstarter for the Majestic Fantasy RPG that coincidentally I've just picked up a PDF version of from Drive-Thru. We've got Joe the Lawyer, another podcaster, who is editing. And also, last but by no means least, we have Ivy, Tim's better half, who is bringing the food, keeping Tim in line, and making sure everything goes smoothly. As I said, I can't wait to see this. Really looking forward to a good old-fashioned mini dungeon crawl. Next up, there is The Vast in the Dark by Charles Ferguson Avery. It's an exploration setting for the world's most popular role-playing game, D&D, and takes place in a crumbling alien wasteland filled with brutalish mega-structure ruins. It includes tools for generating massive areas to explore, as well as unique player options and gameplay changes to keep the focus on player choice. And that sounds intriguing to me. I love any sort of game that has toolkit stuff. That's why I like some of the Kevin Crawford stuff so much. It's always got these toolkits in that you can use, and this immediately grabbed my attention. And I'm a bit of a sucker for sort of alien worlds and bringing like mythos stuff into D&D and old school essentials, so I jumped straight on this. I backed it at the $5 US level, which gets you the PDF copy. If you wanted a physical copy, it's $10 US plus whatever the postage and packaging is. And next up, this is one that I bought after listening to Pete's episode on Dragons Are Real. This is the Bestitchery by Mikkel Gotkowski, and this is a zine designed to work with Mork Borg. Now, I'm not the world's biggest fan of Mork Borg, to be perfectly honest. Fair play if people out there like it, great guns to you, play it and enjoy it. I've got a PDF copy of it, but it's not really my vibe. However, a bestiary where you can take multiple creatures and stitch them together to make strange abominations and chimera, that is most definitely firmly up my alley. So again, I have backed this at the €6 level, which gets you the PDF in colour, a black and white version if you want to print it, and a PDF blank creature part template. And I believe that that's the only pledge level that's currently available for this zine. I know a lot of people who've been putting zines out there just don't want the hassle with the postage and packaging and sending things abroad and stuff like that. So I can't really blame people for just putting stuff out as PDF. After all, they're fairly sort of small zines, most of them, especially if you get a black and white copy like with this. So I can easily print it out, or I can go to Lulu or my local print shop or something like that, you know, COVID permitting, and get a copy run off there. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this. Again, I love toolkits. Anything that lets me create sort of random monsters and new things to surprise my players with is got to be a good thing. And last but by no means least, another one I backed after listening to Pete. This is the Power Words Engine, a limitless alternative to your tabletop RPG's spell list by Dom Leotti. And this is a custom magic spell generator tool designed to replace the spell list of your favourite tabletop games. And the way this works is you choose a set of up to 8 words from the provided list, and they combine to describe your spell's effect. The example given on the Kickstarter page is that if you wanted to make a spell that causes a ball of fire to erupt from your hands, you might choose the words orb and fire. These are just words. As long as they describe the effect you want, they can be used to create that effect. The spell's harmony is calculated by comparing its word to a set of rules. The more harmonics the word follows, the more powerful the spell can be. Harmony is then spent on trees and tags which nail down the spell's specific mechanics. So it sounds like it might be a little bit involved, but I think once you've got some like regular spells, you know, you could sort of have them written down on your character sheet. And I'm always intrigued by people who've adapted or provided new options for games. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this and seeing whether it's something I think I can roll out in my OSE campaign. Because we've not actually got any spellcasters apart, like, well, not arcane spellcasters, we've got divine spellcasters, but we've got no arcane spellcasters at the minute, so potentially I could slide this in without too much difficulty. I've backed it at the $5 US level, which gets me a PDF copy. If you want a physical copy, it's going to cost you $10 US plus. And it looks really interesting. The bits of layout that are shared on the Kickstarter look very graphically striking, so I'll be looking forward to getting that, my sweaty mitts on that. So there we go. That's the zines that I've currently backed on this Zinequest 3 on Kickstarter. I'm trying to rein myself back so I don't spend such a ridiculous amount of money as I did the last 2 times, but you never know, I might sneak 1 or 2 more onto my list before Zinequest concludes, depending on what I come across. I'll put all the links to the Kickstarters for the ones that I'm backing in the description of this show. But as I say, Zinequest only runs for a short time, and this episode's not going out until Monday the 8th, so I don't know if all of them will still be available if you want to get on them, but I'd advise you go and check them out, have a quick look. You might find something that can add to your game, or that will bring an additional intriguing element to it. And I think, to be honest, that's the main allure of Zinequest for me. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've got any comments, suggestions, zines you want to recommend, things you want to say about Zinequest, or anything else related to the podcast, you can get in touch with us by leaving us a voicemail on SpeakPipe, or by dropping us an email at rddrpg@gmail.com. Now, a few people have contacted me and said that they're having problems using the SpeakPipe website on their phone. If you are having trouble with that and you're not using the website, then you can always send a voicemail to my old Anchor account. If you just go on to your search engine of preference and type in Anchor plus Red Dice Diaries, it should come up and you can leave a voicemail there. My old Anchor account isn't used for this podcast, obviously we switched over to Buzzsprout, but I still use it for putting up some audio versions of my OSE actual plays, and I still do receive messages from there, so you can still send them there and we'll still get them and we'll still be able to include them in the show. So until we see you again, take care, stay safe and keep gaming.